Yes, I shaved. I no longer look like I was lost at sea for 3.5 months. Get over it. Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is once again coming from my apartment. Now today we are going to be talking about the film In the Heart of the Sea. This is a film that I've been looking forward to for quite a while because in high school I actually read the novel Moby Dick by Herman Melville. And this is the story that apparently inspired that story. And if you somehow are not familiar, Moby Dick is about Captain Ahab, a man just filled with revenge who is lusting to try and take down this white whale that took his leg. And that's, in a very wide way of putting it, what Moby Dick is about. And this film does kind of follow that in a sense. Chris Hemsworth is the main star. He does a very nice job in this role, and I like seeing him in roles outside of the Marvel films because it shows that he has acting chops outside of just being Thor, and that's always a fun thing to see. He's very good, very charismatic in this movie, and I really enjoyed him. Tom Holland, our new Spider-Man, he is also in this film, and I also enjoyed his performance because for a kid who, I don't know his age, fairly young, he did a very nice job and did a lot of these really dramatic scenes very nicely, and I quite enjoyed him. The special effects in this movie are kind of the high point because we have like 90% of this movie taking place on the ocean and seeing these sailors and their 2-year adventure on the seas. So naturally there's a lot of CGI that goes into that, mainly within the whale. The whale itself looks fantastic. Every scene that has this giant sperm whale in it just looks ridiculously good, and it's a menacing creature, and I actually got shivers a few times when you see sailors just like stuck in the water and you see, I'm just gonna call it Moby Dick just kind of swimming past them, and it's just like, you are so helpless in that situation that it's basically in the hands of this creature that is going to probably kill you at some point. The special effects in this film look fantastic. That said, there was one scene that had some noticeable CGI in that you could kind of tell it was green screen. It was kind of disappointing. Maybe it wasn't, but it looked like that to me. Just a scene where they're rowing out to catch their first whale of the movie, and just the background image of the ocean and the sky and everything, that looked very green screen to me, and maybe it wasn't, maybe I'm just being far too picky on this film now that I'm seeing a lot of movies, but it just looked that way to me. There's also a lot of emotional parts in this film that didn't really hit. For example, there is Chris Hemsworth, and then there is a guy who apparently has sailed with Chris Hemsworth for much of their lives together, and so they're like brothers. It's mentioned in maybe a sentence or two, and they don't really spend a ton of time together. So when there's a scene towards the end, which is supposed to be fairly emotional, it never really hit because we never got to see that relationship kind of built up, or even like a flashback, if anything, to them as young sailors just going off on their first voyage together. I would have liked to see that because it would have made the scene a lot more effective. It could have been even just take off the Moby Dick essence of it altogether and make it a movie about sailing, and it would have even had that same effect if they'd focused on that brotherly relationship just as the core center of the film. But it does not do that, and so a lot of these emotional scenes kind of fall flat as a result. I did like the way that they told the story though, because it kind of jumps that back and forth between the present and the past. In that, in the present, we have Herman Melville, before he has written Moby Dick, getting the story told from, at this point, the only survivor of the Essex, the ship which has very bad things happen to it. If you've seen the trailer, you probably know what happens to it. But he is telling his story, and that's kind of how the film jumps around in bits and pieces, and I actually enjoyed the way that it did it. It didn't kind of do too much of it, and it broke from the past events that are happening at good times, where it was like, okay, we are done with this event, let's have kind of a transitionary period. And I thought that it worked quite nicely because you can really see the PTSD which is just residing within this guy in regards to what happened to this crew in regards to the white whale, and also just what they eventually had to do to survive. And it's just some gruesome stuff. And that said, it's not really anything, again, that we haven't seen before, which was a little bit disappointing. It felt like I've seen a lot of this like surviving out on sea stuff with very little supplies and blah blah. I've seen it all before, unfortunately, and so while some of the stuff was just like, oh gosh, they're having to do that to survive, it didn't really hit me as much as if I hadn't seen it before. Also, in regards to the whale, if you've seen the trailer, pretty much every time that you see the whale in the trailer, that's the only time that shows up in the film. It doesn't have as much of a presence in this movie as I was kind of hoping that it would, with it being a tale that inspired Moby Dick, supposedly. And so I was kind of hoping that we would see the white whale have a much larger physical presence instead of just being this ominous thing which is hunting these sailors down eventually. And I don't know, I would have liked to see a little bit more of it, because that's what people are going to go to this movie to see. They're going to go because they want to see this white whale. The build up to seeing this giant Moby Dick-esque creature is really, really well done. I really liked how they kind of set up the whole story. They kind of built up to their first encounter, and that whole climax is fantastic. It's just kind of after that event that does kind of downslide a little bit and kind of move away from that. It kind of brings back the whaler so often, but it doesn't really have a huge presence, or as big of one as I might have liked to see. The ending, though, is actually quite well done. I was very satisfied with it, and I thought that it kind of worked as a biopic, because in a sense, if the story is somewhat true, it is a biopic. And so it does kind of have that, like, what happened to these people after the events of the film? It has that stuff, and I really liked it. So yeah, guys, as someone who has actually read Moby Dick and enjoyed Moby Dick, I very much enjoyed this film. It has its issues, as you've heard me talk about, but as a film about sailors going off and hunting this giant, monstrous whale, I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun, well-done movie, and yeah, I'd say check it out this weekend. There's nothing else new coming out. So if you've seen the majority of things which have come out already in theaters, definitely check this one out. I think it's well worth your time. I saw it in IMAX, which I think I definitely recommend if you have the option for it, but I think it works fine on a regular screen as well. So, those are my thoughts on In the Heart of the Sea. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Did you like the film as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.